Hello everyone. In today's video, it's episode 35 of my cryptocurrency investing series. We're going to be exclusively talking about SHIB or Shiba Inu, which is one of the popular meme coins that has been the talk of the town these days. So today we'll be talking about all of the questions that people have been asking me about SHIB, especially the big question: how high can SHIB go to? Can SHIB go to $0.01, for example? So when I started preparing this content, it wasn't my intent to prepare a special content for SHIB, but I'll tell you why I decided to speak about SHIB in a minute. But as usual, starting with a disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor or an investment expert. I'm only doing these videos to share the learnings that I have got from the process, and to also provide clarity and information in a easy to understand way from whatever I have learned in my own experience. The most important thing, I keep repeating this in every video, is that do not send your money to somebody who calls himself a professional advisor or an investment broker or anybody basically online. Practically all of these people are frauds. Nobody will take your money and invest it for you. Your money, and you need to invest it. I keep saying this in every video because there are still a lot of people who are getting scammed on a daily basis. So do not ever send your money or your crypto to anybody else. Also, I'm active on Twitter. The rate Chennai to London is my handle. So I do post quite a lot of frequent updates. In fact, throughout this video, you will notice that during the events, I've been explaining very actively on Twitter, and you can also follow a lot of other people on Twitter. And it's a great medium to get information about crypto and in general about content very quickly. So in today's episode, like I said, I was originally planning a lot of other topics, especially the Songbird airdrop, VEX merging, Vault Finance merging, EVM chain of Kronos. But along with that, I wanted to start with the main topic, which was SHIB. But then I realized that when I started putting the information together and I started storyboarding it in the content over like 3 or 4 days, it was just getting longer and longer, and there was like so much information that I wanted to explain, as if if I was sitting down a friend and explaining to him about whatever I know about SHIB. All of that information I wanted to share in the content, and it was very clear and apparent that I needed to devote an episode on its own, completely dedicated to SHIB. So that's why this is an episode where we'll talk everything that you want to know about SHIB in its entirety, right from its inception to where it stands today and where it could go tomorrow. Okay. So without wasting much time, what is SHIB? First of all, what is the fuss about? Shiba Inu was a meme coin that was launched in Ethereum ecosystem. In fact, it gave the concept of meme coins to the world after Dogecoin, I would say, last year in August 2020. So it was launched in the Ethereum ecosystem. So it was launched with a tagline of Doge Killer, an open challenge to become Doge. So I had spoken about Doge as well in one of my videos. We'll explain what it is. So if you had watched episode 26 about my SafeMoon crypto at that point of time in April 2021, in fact, SafeMoon was another meme coin, and I explained why these meme coins are becoming popular. In fact, SafeMoon was launched in Binance Smart Chain in BEP20 protocol. Almost it was a copy of SHIB and Doge. They in fact got the idea, I would say, from SHIB itself. Dogecoin was created with practically no purpose at that point of time, about 5 or 6 years back. And it was just a joke, or the purpose of it was to show the practicality of how a coin can be created on the ERC20 blockchain pretty easily. So when Ethereum introduced the EVM and the Ethereum blockchain, a lot of popular coins were created on the Ethereum blockchain. In fact, today a lot of popular coins like USDT, many of the coins that we use apart from Bitcoin were actually launched on Ethereum blockchain. So originally when Bitcoin came, Bitcoin was the only coin that was capable of operating in the blockchain of Bitcoin. And then when Ethereum came, Ethereum said that we are also a platform apart from being a coin. So anybody who wants to launch a coin can actually launch a coin on our platform, which was the ERC20 protocol. So today a lot of coins actually exist on the ERC20 protocol. So Dogecoin was created as a joke to prove the point that you can launch a coin like this, and they said there is no purpose to this coin, so it was very, very low at that point of time. So they created like billions of coins. So to understand SHIB better, we have to understand the price rise of Dogecoin over the last few years. So when Doge was launched, I said there was no purpose and there was billions of coins. So there's actually launched at a price of about 0.0008, like 4 decimal points, and then there was a 8 cents. So that was the value of DOGE at that point of time, which meant that you could have bought a lot of coins if you were really serious at that point of time. But not many people were into crypto itself at that point, and not many had actually bought it, I would say. But a lot of industry analysts said that it would never ever reach 1 pence, and it's one of the coins that has announced itself as a joke. There was no future for it, there was no purpose for it. But in May 2017, over a 2-year period, it actually went up about nearly 3,700%, and it was $0.003 at that point of time. So in Indian rupees, it went from like less than half a paisa or like half a paisa to about 22 paisa. So this was a phenomenal increase at that point of time, where if you had invested like 1,000 rupees or $120, it was like going up nearly 4,000%. So it went up to about 37,500 rupees from a 1,000 rupee investment, or from $120 to $4,500. But again, the success came after that. In January 2018, within a few months, it went up to almost 18,750%. So it went to about, it reached 1 pence at that point of time. In fact, it reached 0.015 pence and $0.015, and it was exceeding 1 rupee at that point of time. So it was a phenomenal growth of about 18,750%. So if you had invested 1,000 rupees in January 2018, in about 3 years time, you had about 1.8 lakhs in hand, and that's the enormity of the progress that it made. But if you had waited a bit longer, in Feb 2021, it had reached about 88,750%. It was 7 cent at that point of time, $0.07. So if you had invested 1,000 rupees, for example, you were looking at nearly about 9 lakhs, which is a massive amount at that point of time. But people who waited even a bit longer, in May 2021, it reached its peak almost. It was about 70 cents at that point of time, $0.71. And if you had invested 1,000 rupees, it was probably looking at around 90 lakhs return of investment over a 6-year period of time. That was one of the massive gains that it had. It almost matched the Bitcoin story, I would say. But what is worth noting is that this is again an example of patience, but what's worth noting is that if you had timed it and you had bought it in May 2021, for example, today at its current price, it is less than half of its peak price. So if you had bought like 10,000 rupees of DOGE coin, for example, at that point of time, you are looking at about 5,000 rupees in hand, which is almost 50% down. So timing is always very important, and you need to make sure that if you are going to a coin, why there is a necessity to wait and be patient before you sell, after you have bought the coin, and when you're buying, also making sure that you're not buying into a FOMO or fear of missing out. Now, what makes these cryptos special and legitimate is that it's no different to the original intent of Bitcoin and blockchain cryptos. So Bitcoin was originally created as a store of value. So it had no purpose in the beginning. It was just to demonstrate that a crypto can be created like that on the blockchain and can be a store of value. So in fact, if you had seen episode 00, this is almost the same story for Bitcoin. The initial Bitcoin was like used to buy 2 pizzas at about 10,000 Bitcoin. So those are all stories that we were familiar with, that we spoke about in episode 00. But in the case of DOGE, more people had the opportunity to buy it early. Because in 2010, not many people had even attempted to buy Bitcoin or the blockchain investments. But in 2015, it was more popular, and the popularity was rising gradually after that, with more and more people getting into, and this was an affordable crypto that you could buy. And that was the basic reason behind the rise. So if you watch episode 26 again, you will realize that this is exactly everything that I said about SafeMoon, and the phenomenal rise that SafeMoon had after we had posted about SafeMoon. I mean, not because of me posting it, but eventually because of the timing at which we posted it and the phenomenal rise that SafeMoon had after that point of time. So you can actually go in and analyze all of these coins in Etherscan. You will realize that unlike the centralized projects like TRX, for example, where Justin Sun and his corporation own most of the coins, which means that we are only buying from him, or rather we are only making him more and more richer, you will realize that these coins like the DOGE coins or the SHIB coins, they are actually more decentralized, which means the top holders, the development team or the SHIB team is actually not holding like, billions and billions of coins, like how the other centralized coins are being held. So you will realize they're truly decentralized in terms of the top holders and the wallet addresses that are holding it. Anybody can go into Etherscan and actually do a detailed analysis of it. So most of these coins, like SHIB, AKITA, ELON, Kishu, they were all launched on the Ethereum blockchain using the ERC20 coin protocol that I had mentioned. So like SafeMoon was launched in Binance Smart Chain, but these ones were launched much earlier, and SHIB was the one that was launched a lot earlier. In fact, it was one of the first launched attempt at trying to beat Dogecoin, I would say. So as I explained in episode 24 and 25, it becomes like, much easier to launch a coin these days. I mean, earlier, if you had to launch a coin, you can create a coin, you can create a crypto token, but to enable people to buy it, actually you needed a centralized exchange to acknowledge and list it, and there were procedures to go through it. So even now, a lot of coins are waiting for centralized exchanges to list them, and you can't buy them easily in centralized exchanges. But these days, like I had explained, you can actually list your crypto on the decentralized exchanges, and with decentralized finance becoming more and more popular, and where you have blockchains like Binance Smart Chain being added to Ethereum, and every day a new smart contract enabled blockchain is being born. So you can actually launch these coins on a decentralized exchange where you can actually go and buy these coins much earlier to these cryptos getting listed on a centralized exchange. So if, in fact, in episode 24, I had done a demo of how you can buy it in Uniswap. Episode 25, I had done a demo of how you can buy it in PancakeSwap. And in episode 26, for example, I've said how you can buy it even just using a mobile, but on a decentralized finance or a decentralized exchange, where it is a lot more easier. You don't need any, and there are no boundaries, there are no restrictions. For example, if you want to buy a coin in New York today, there are a lot of restrictions that you can't just go and, like SHIB, for example, you can't just go and buy it in New York in centralized exchanges. But if you want to go and buy it in a decentralized exchange, there are no restrictions, there are no boundaries for using a decentralized exchange. So that's what makes these coins more accessible to people, and that's what makes these coins more accessible to early investors. Now, when everyone was talking about SafeMoon in April, at that point of time, in fact, I actually tweeted about SHIB, AKITA, ELON, where nobody was talking about it. Not many people were talking about it at that point of time. On 24th April, in fact, I first said that, we were talking about SafeMoon, but, there are coins like SHIB, AKITA, they are all rubbish by experts. And there's a collective might of common people that sometimes when common people just band together and they decide that we are going to make this success, it could become a success. And that's what I was mentioning at that point of time. And also a lot of people were asking, how do you buy it? Give us the actual contract address. After I made a demo of Uniswap, I even listed the contract addresses of those coins, ELON, SHIB, AKITA, and I explained where you can buy it. And if you don't want to buy it from a decentralized exchange, I also mentioned how it was listed in BitTrue and POLYDOGE at that point of time, where you could go and buy it. Now, again, like I said, the key is to buy it early in decentralized exchanges. And I bought it, before all the major hype had started, but I was still relatively late to a lot of people who had bought it at that point of time. But you basically analyze the volume, you analyze the team, you analyze Etherscan, you analyze the token holders and everybody, and then you make a decision which ones to buy, because there'll be like hundreds of meme coins. The trick is to find the legitimate ones, or at least the ones that are not going to rug pull you, and choose the top 2 or 3 coins. So again, let's look at a SHIB price trend, right? Like how we did for the Dogecoin. So the SHIB coin, when I was tweeting it, was probably having like 5 decimal points or 5 zeros before the decimal point. It was $0.0000014 I would say. Now, in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, on 8th of May, when I was explaining the contract addresses and how to buy it in Uniswap, it had done about like 500%, about 473%. So if you had invested about $120, it would have become like $567 at that point of time. Now, in a span of like 3 or 4 days after that point, it had a massive rise. It was going up to almost 2,256 points, nearly 25 times at that point of time. Within a month, 3 weeks, it went up nearly about 25 times. So if you had invested about $120, you were looking at about $2,700 during those 3-week period. That was a phenomenal rise at that point of time. After that, there was a big market crash, which everybody know that in the middle of May, we had a huge market crash, and by June 12, like after a month from the peak point, it had fallen down to about 0.0059 again. It was still higher than the price point that we had talked about in 24th of April, but from the peak price point, if you comparatively look at it, it was down about 83%. So if somebody had bought SHIB at that point on 11th May for let's say 1,000 rupees or $1,000, they would have lost 87% or 83% of their investment, and they were looking at about 187 rupees. And at that point of time, I was again highlighting in Twitter that the value of patience and how crypto crash is always inevitable. In fact, even before that, a lot before that, I was actually tweeting multiple times that cryptos always have the possibility of a crash, and there is a market crash even before the crypto crash had started. So what happened was cryptos eventually recovered, and SHIB actually reached the point of $0.003, whatever point that it had left it on, whatever the peak point it was on 11th of May, it reached it on 7th of October. So it was almost equal to that point of time, and you would have recovered to that point of time like 2,200% from April 2021. But what happened was I was a phenomenal increase after that point in the next 3 or 4 weeks in October, where on 30th of October it had gone up to almost like $0.00040 and $7, which was 5,300% from that point. From April 24th, it was around 5,300 point. Obviously, it was a phenomenal increase if you consider what was the price even at beginning of April. But we were just looking at that as the benchmark point. So if you had invested like, let's say 1,000 rupees, you were looking at 50,000 rupees or $120, you're looking at about $6,300, which was a phenomenal increase at that point of time. So again, it teaches the value of patience. In fact, before the crash was happening, when the market was completely booming, I was tweeting constantly at that point of time to say that, realize your paper profit. If you are up 300%, 400% in a day, it's not going to last, and it's going to cause you a huge grief if you don't realize paper gains or paper profits. And I keep saying this in all my videos that, unrealized paper profits, when it falls down, it will cause a huge grief. In fact, I've dedicated episodes where you can actually, how you can teach yourself to realize paper profits, like episode 19, for example. So this was completely opposite. Mostly the influencers were saying that keep buying because the market is booming, and I was completely doing the opposite. And one thing that we need to be talking about is, while we talk about SHIB, for example, ELON and AKITA that I had mentioned during that point of time, they had also done significantly in this month in October. For example, ELON had done nearly about 4,000%. But it also had a considerable drop during that point of time. In fact, it had gone down to almost like 95% of its value. It had lost it, but it had quickly gained it. In fact, it almost reached the peak point. Again, ELON as well and AKITA as well reached the peak point, and it had done almost similar to SHIB. In fact, much better than SHIB in some cases. Like SHIB, for example, in the entire month of October did about 10 times, about 1,000%, whereas ELON did about nearly 40 times, I would say. So what makes this, and we'll talk about why these coins are doing well as well in a few minutes, but what makes Shiba special? Why are everybody talking about SHIB and not about the other coins as much, right? So a lot of these coins started with a huge amount of coins in circulation. In fact, DOGE coin, when it came in 2015, when Bitcoin was talking about in millions and Ethereum was talking about in million, DOGE had billions and billions of coins. That was already a lot of coins at that point of time. But SHIB, they started with quadrillion tokens. Quadrillion was not a number that people had even heard about at that point of time. In fact, it's 1 followed by 15 zeros, and you can Google it to double check whether I'm saying it correctly or not. Million is 6 zeros, billion is 9 zeros, trillion is 12 zeros, and quadrillion is 15 zeros. So Vitalik Buterin is the programmer who had actually created Ethereum a few years back, and he's a widely respected figure in crypto industry. So he created the ERC20 protocol, the EVM. So as a marketing strategy, what Shiba Inu team did in 2020 when they created the token was, they sent half the supply, nearly 500 trillion tokens. They sent it to Vitalik Buterin saying that they are doing it as a respect or a token of respect. So their intention was that Vitalik Buterin will talk about it, and then automatically it will gain marketing or popularity when he talks about it or uses it, for example. But Had Vitalik Buterin used it, things could have been different at that point of time. But he did not want to be associated with all of these meme coins which were trying to send him tokens, because he didn't believe in these meme coins, or it didn't look like he was believing in these meme coins. So what he did was on 12th May, when the market was peaking and when everybody was talking about SHIB, and this was being continuously referenced at that point of time, that half the tokens were being sent to Vitalik Buterin. He went and straight away burned nearly 410 trillion SHIB. That was about $6 billion worth at that point of time, and today's value it's worth about $26 billion, I would say. That's 40% of the supply. He just went straight away and he burned it. So when we say burning, he sends it to an address which is called as a black hole address, from where you can never recover it from a blockchain perspective. So that's as good as getting rid of those cryptos. He also sent about 50 trillion SHIB, which was worth $1 billion at that point of time, to India's COVID relief fund. So had that 50 trillion SHIB, been sold in the market, immediately if it was sold, it could have crashed the project, and it could have actually collapsed the project and sent it to zero. So because $1 billion worth of crypto being sold for a project like that would have caused a significant collapse, not just for SHIB, for most projects. But what happened was very interesting from this point. As fate would have it, COVID relief fund was actually set up by Sandeep Nailwal, who's the Polygon co-founder in India. So Sandeep Nailwal is actually a known figure in India. He co-founded Polygon, and he is one of the widely respected figures in India. In fact, I have a huge respect for him. So what he did was he immediately came out and started communicating, saying that we will ensure that there will be a very slow liquidation for this donation, and we will protect the retail investor. This was a huge step. In fact, not only him, but the entire team behind the India's crypto COVID relief, they stepped up and said that, look, we respect this donation, we respect this money, but we will make sure that we will not impact the retail community who have invested in SHIB. We recognize them and we'll act very, very responsibility. This was huge responsibility, or it was a lot of maturity shown by them. In fact, I'll share the Twitter link. I had posted a detailed Twitter story at that point of time explaining what my understanding of it was. The reason why this was important was because a lot of crypto experts at that point of time, intellectuals, they were rubbishing SHIB all along the way. They were trying to say that this is a stupid project, and they were trying to do their best to actually kill the project. And there was a lot of attempt being made at that. So immediately after Vitalik Buterin sent the crypto to the black hole address, and he sent it to the India's COVID relief fund, they were all coming out and tweeting left, right, and center for nearly about 10 or 15 hours. There was chaos in the market where they were tweeting saying that, look, it's going to kill the project. Vitalik has done a master move and he wants to destroy SHIB. And they were all pretty happy about what was happening at that point of time, till Sandeep had stepped in. So it was a massive moment in time for SHIB at that point of time. So if they had not done it, and if they had practically, sold all the crypto at that point of time, it could have actually crashed it, because there was a lot of negative sentiment. But that particular tweet from Sandeep and their response turned it around, or rather protected the project at that point of time. So after that, or during that point of time, a lot of major exchanges also started listing SHIB. So a lot of things happened during that first 2 weeks of May period, I would say. Poloniex and Bitrue were the early adopters. Most likely they always support these kind of projects very early in the stages. So they listed SHIB, AKITA, ELON, all of these projects got listed there. However, what followed after that was a little bit unprecedented. Crypto.com started listing it first. In fact, on May 8th, Crypto.com listed it, and then Binance and WazirX all followed in very quick succession. So in fact, Crypto.com CEO and co-founder Chris, he himself personally tweeted about SHIB being listed on the mobile app. Very rarely you will find the CEO or the co-founders tweeting about one particular token being added to the exchange. So that was, I was actually surprised at that point of time. In fact, they jumped the gun and they did the announcement much before Binance. And then Binance in a couple of days followed suit, and they also listed SHIB. And the words that they used were quite unique at that point of time. In fact, never before in the history of Binance, they had run out of Ethereum deposit addresses. This is almost like saying that a bank had too many customers that they were running out of account numbers to give them. That's what happened in Binance. It was completely unheard of. In fact, the words that they had, exact words that I had used, was they listed it in innovation zone and called it SHIB is an experiment in decentralized community, and it's a relatively new token that poses higher than normal risk. Very rarely you would see these kind of words being spoken by Binance for any coin. Hadn't been spoken before and hasn't been spoken afterwards as well. So these were some of the things that were happening at that point of time. And then on 13th of May, WazirX listed it a couple of days later. And this again was a huge controversy. This was a big story at that point of time. And generally, I mentioned that WazirX is one of the most trusted exchanges that I mentioned about India. But that was an exception that day, as the price that it got launched into was extremely higher. And this was practically because of the market maker greed. Now, what happens when a coin gets listed in a new exchange when you don't allow deposits to happen is that there is an initial market maker who provides the liquidity. And these market makers, there is always a market maker or a group of market makers in these centralized exchanges. They decide the initial price, and the price that they decided was 1,000 times higher, or about 100,000% different to other exchanges that were listing those coins or selling those coins at that point of time. It was practically an exploitation by the market makers at that point. And that's what I was feeling a bit bad, because I tweeted immediately saying don't buy it because it's completely different in terms of the prices, and there's a huge exploitation that's in progress. After that, Nishal Shetty, he recognized the fact that this has happened, and he came out in support of people who got exploited, because people had invested like 1 lakh rupees, and suddenly they realized that within few minutes it had fallen down to about 100 rupees. There were a lot of people who invested like 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, and without checking coin stats, without understanding what the prices are, without validating the values that they were investing into. It was just pure greed. They just saw the project and they immediately clicked on buy. This is one of the reasons why I advise that don't buy it always in an Indian rupees, because you can't compute, and buy it in USDT pair, because then you can compare it against the global markets and compare it against the global price charts. Or better, you're not restricted. Nobody is restricting you to buy in an Indian exchange. Use the Indian exchange as your entry point and take your money through a crypto like XLM or USDT into the global exchanges like Binance or crypto.com or BitTrue, where you will find the liquidity is far better control, and you can actually trade in Binance or in crypto.com, for example, and nobody is stopping you from doing that. So this is why, one of the reasons why, in fact, in episode 15, I was comparing the liquidity in order book of all the different exchanges, and I had highlighted the advantage of using a global exchange at that point of time. So a lot of story happened at that point, but eventually they gave some WRX as a compensation for people who had lost money at that point. So again, a few months later, on September 8th, Coinbase Pro listed it, and within a couple of weeks, Coinbase also followed. So 1 week later, Coinbase also followed suit and listed SHIB. And Coinbase listing, like I have said in many of my videos, is always a big catalyst for coins to get higher on the price ladder. That's reason is because a lot of people prefer to use Coinbase. It's one of the most simplest apps available. They don't understand how to go into an exchange and buy it, or they don't prefer to go into a complicated exchange and buy it. They would like to have a very simple mobile app where they can just click a button and buy it, and Coinbase allows people to do it all over the world. So when SHIB launched in Coinbase, in fact, I tweeted about it saying that there could be a Coinbase-based rise, and it did happen over a period of time. In fact, from 16th of September to the first week of October, there was a lot of price increase that happened eventually following the Coinbase launching. So when SHIB launched in the beginning in 2020, they were talking a lot about decentralized finance. They were talking about decentralized exchanges, decentralized finance, and they were talking about changing the ecosystem. So, in fact, if you had watched my episode 24, you will understand that if you are not dependent on a centralized exchange, you can start becoming a liquidity provider, and you can start earning using liquidity mining without actually trading a coin, without actually selling a coin. You can keep your coins and you can still do liquidity mining using those coins in decentralized exchanges using decentralized finance. But I also explained how expensive the ERC20 ecosystem is. In fact, I was showing in Uniswap demo in episode 24 how that if you want to do a small mining, the fees is prohibitively expensive that normal people cannot do it. In fact, when I bought SHIB for the first time in April 2021, I bought it in Uniswap or I swapped it in Uniswap. The fees that I had paid for getting SHIB was actually higher than the value of SHIB that I was buying at that point of time. It was that high in terms of the gas fees that I needed to pay to buy SHIB. But I knew the project was gaining momentum, so I was willing to pay this amount of fees and I got it. So this kind of huge fees, what it means is that it benefits the big whales or the huge big investors. So it doesn't benefit retail investors in decentralized finance. This is again something that we mentioned where Binance Smart Chain and Polygon have changed the landscape for small investors, where anybody can go in and pay much lower fees, and literally 99% lower fees than the Ethereum ecosystem or Uniswap, and anybody can become a liquidity provider in those ecosystems. So even during Coinbase listing, I mentioned that if SHIB is going to maintain their decentralized exchanges only on Ethereum, their vision of getting the decentralized finance to common people is not going to be achieved, and they need to move to Polygon or Binance Smart Chain. In fact, in October, there was a major decentralized exchange support that has come out for both Polygon and Binance Smart Chain. More on this in a couple of minutes. But they are not as popular as Uniswap, because even today it's the big whales or the big investors who are making huge profit in using SHIB in the decentralized finance. So this could eventually change with the Shiba Inu roadmap, where they've talked about creating a blockchain called Shibarium. So as an example, I'll just show you a screenshot where just doing a $50 transaction on the Shiba Swap, which is the Shiba Swap is the decentralized exchange that Shiba owns or Shiba is trying to operate. So I went to Shiba Swap, and which is still operating only on the Ethereum mainnet. And if you're trying to do a $50 transaction, for example, you are paying nearly about $140 of Ethereum fees. So you can see the gas fees is about 3 or 4 times the cost of, even if you buy it for $10, you would pay like hundreds of dollars in gas fees. That's the disadvantage of using Shiba Swap or any Ethereum mainnet based decentralized exchange. And Shiba Swap, they introduced 2 short supply coins called Bone and Leash, which were supposed to be supporting coins of that decentralized exchange, which has its own utility and it's going to have limited availability, unlike SHIB. But when the fees is so high, I don't think there is any point in talking about these coins at this point in time, unless and until it moves to a different ecosystem. So what is Shibarium? We kept talking about it. So the founder of SHIB, goes by the name of YOOSHI, is still anonymous, by the way. So in May 2021, when SHIB was rising in popularity, he acknowledged the fact that people in ERC20 ecosystem are paying huge fees and it's not good for the community. And he outlined a roadmap for SHIB, where he explained about Shiba Swap that is going to be initially launched on Ethereum blockchain. And he said that, okay, to avoid this Ethereum gas fees, we have a vision to create our own blockchain called as Shibarium. Now, that was a huge vision at that point of time, creating a completely new blockchain with EVM capability, Ethereum virtual machine capability, so that you can run smart contracts, and also to make it affordable and low fees, because otherwise there's no point if you're matching a like for like Ethereum clone. So this will take months and months of creation or development and testing, and it's a huge effort. This example is Kronos from CRO. But he quickly also added that he updated saying that this may not be a new blockchain, but this could be an L2 solution or a layer 2 solution, scaling solution like Polygon. Polygon had changed the scaling solutions for Ethereum blockchain significantly. I mean, if anybody wants to still do liquidity mining in Ethereum, they can actually go to Polygon instead of Ethereum, where it's significantly cheaper. But even that takes a lot of development time. In fact, Polygon was going through the phases for nearly months and months of development time, I would say. So today, when people talk about Shibarium, that it's going to get launched today, it's going to launch now, it's just hype and chatter on the social media. There are no clear timelines. There is no roadmap or official confirmation from Shiba team, or even a development update that is in progress. So any new blockchain is going to take months. It's going to be in development for a long time, and then it needs to be in a testnet phase where people need to test it for many months before it can go to mainnet. And a blockchain which has got EVM capability is going to be significant in terms of the risks and the issues that is going to face initially, that it needs to go through this testnet phase. So Flare Networks, as an example, was supposed to launch in March 2021. They're still in their testnet stage with Songbird, and they haven't gone live yet with their Spark token. Kronos EVM is another example. They were going through the dev and testnet phase for many months. Kronos was supposed to launch and it got delayed, eventually launching in November. So it was the original blockchain was released in March 2021. So there is so even if there is an active development team that is completely dedicated to Shibarium and is working, it will take many months before it becomes a fully ready solution. So however, if that's true, if there's actually development in progress, I would actually love to read white papers or progress updates, and it'll be fantastic if there is another contender on the open market for Ethereum virtual machine, or for a new blockchain for that matter. But one thing is, SHIB already has a lot of support in Polygon and Binance Smart Chain, but SHIB as a community or as a group hasn't officially supported or extended formal support to either of these chains. In fact, they are supported by third-party pegging in both Binance Smart Chain and Polygon ecosystem. So every DEX transaction, currently you are paying a lot of fees in the Ethereum ecosystem, like we just saw, but you can actually transfer SHIB to BEP20 or to Polygon chains practically free of cost, and transactions on the Polygon ecosystem or on Binance Smart Chain it's comparatively low cost to Ethereum. So Crypto.com, for example, if you maintain SHIB in Crypto.com, you can withdraw natively to BEP20. So you can withdraw it from Crypto.com. It will show you two options, ERC20 or BEP20. You can select BEP20 and you'll see the fees is significantly lower to withdraw it to your MetaMask or your DeFi wallet. And if you want to transfer SHIB from one Polygon wallet to another Polygon wallet, you can practically do it for free with zero fees almost. And these make it easier to transact SHIB on these chains, but it's not officially supported by or it's not formally supported or recognized by the Shiba Inu project team. So in fact, if you go and provide liquidity, I am providing liquidity in QuickSwap for SHIBmatic, and it's got a very good reward mechanism currently in Polygon with DQuick, but it's not something that's spoken about or gets recognized by the Shiba Inu team right now. So what they can do is, while the Shiba Inu project team is preparing to launch Shibarium, they can actually get into active partnership and they can encourage Binance Smart Chain or Polygon themselves, and this will allow a lot of retail investors who are holding SHIB today to benefit from their holdings instead of paying huge fees on the Ethereum ecosystem, where not many people are able to use their Shiba on ShibSwap. So what are the other utilities of SHIB? So one thing that we need to acknowledge is Shiba is no longer a pump and dump coin any longer. So it's not one of those coins where the creator, the development team has a huge holding and they are going to actually dump it and run away. Like many times it has happened. A lot of times it happens. So it has got a lot of organic growth. In fact, if you look at the history of SHIB and the number of people who've been holding it and gradually how it's been increasing, it's almost 1,000 or a million unique addresses on ERC20 for SHIB, and it's grown very, very gradually. So, and a lot of big exchanges, if you go and do an Etherscan analysis of the top 100 holders, you will realize like Crypto.com, for example, holds like 5% of the tokens. And you will realize that a lot of these exchanges, a lot of these people are holding like small percentage, and it's widely divided and it's no longer a pump and dump coin. So there are also exclusive NFTs being launched on OpenSea where you can't use any other crypto. You have to use SHIB if you want to buy those NFTs, for example. So Crypto.com again is like, for example, thinking of SHIB to the list of natively supported online crypto pay, where you don't need to convert it to fiat currencies like dollar or Indian rupees. You can directly use SHIB to make online payments, and they will take care of converting it or whatever. But it will show you that, okay, this hotel booking is actually worth 2 million SHIB or 3 million SHIB. So you can directly make a payment in SHIB itself. Flare Network had already promised utility for Dogecoin, saying that we know that Dogecoin is being owned by a lot of people. We will provide utility to it when we launch it. That's what Flare Network was saying. And given the number of the sheer number of supporters that SHIB has. In fact, they call themselves as SHIB Army, and they are one of the most strongly organized social media groups on every social media that you can imagine. They could attract other providers to also bring such utilitarian value for SHIB, where restaurants or industries can start accepting SHIB as a native payment, and the only thing that's stopping it is probably the Ethereum fees at this point of time. So if it moves to an L2 chain or a cheaper Ethereum virtual machine chain, then you can actually accept native payments of SHIB, and there'll be cheaper gas fees as well. But what happened in October? Why was there a huge surge in October? So nobody can be 100% sure that these are all the reasons, but these are some of the common reasons that we can attribute to it. So Bitcoin all-time high. So Bitcoin reached almost like $65,000 all-time high, and generally when Bitcoin reaches that kind of a peak, people take out profits and they invest it into smaller investments or cheaper investments, and generally that money flows into altcoins. So you follow a Bitcoin all-time high peak with an altcoin season. So as we saw with ELON and AKITA, so it wasn't just SHIB, it was all of the altcoins, so many altcoins that had a huge surge in October after Bitcoin had passed that the peak all-time high. So it was a clear trend that always follows, and it's easier to follow as well. But a lot of new investors have also come. I mean, you can when you want to buy a crypto, the first thing you do is you watch the news and you are looking for familiar names and you ask your friends what they have invested. And the most common answer, or the most common thing that they would see, is SHIB. So if somebody wants to buy something, right, they will buy something that is known to them, or something that they have heard about in the news, or something that their friends have bought, for example. So SHIB was attractive to them because it was cheap. Now, if you wanted to buy a Bitcoin, it was $65,000. So people don't want to buy like a fraction of it. Like, I can only buy 0.0001 of Bitcoin. Instead, I can buy 2 million SHIB. It was kind of a no-brainer for many people who are coming as a new investor to the community. And there's also an active community. Like I said, it's one of the most organized active communities in social media. They constantly create organic chatter. So it's no longer just paid advertisement. There's constant marketing that happens on social media from these SHIB Army, for example. But the biggest rumor, or the biggest reason why the surge was happening towards the end of October, was probably because there was an expectation that the American investing app, the Robinhood, is going to be listing SHIB pretty soon. So Robinhood is a mobile app. It's focused in America for American investing platform, and it changed the landscape of American investing, we should say, because people found it initially very hard. Every transaction or every purchase, share purchase, for example, used to cost commission fees, and Robinhood became the first commission-free app where you just have a mobile app and you can very easily click a button, you can buy a share, there's no fees. If you want to buy $10 worth of shares, you can just click a button, you can buy $10 worth of share. They did the same thing to crypto as well, and it brought investment more accessible to common people who just want to spend like $10-20 and don't want to pay high fees and just want to buy it whenever they can or whenever they have any money. So it's like as easy as ordering a taxi on Uber or ordering food on Swiggy or Uber Eats. Compared to what it was earlier, it used to be a big task to call somebody and order a taxi or order food. Now you can just click a button and you can intuitively buy something. So the same thing applies for Robinhood as well in US. And there was a rumor that Robinhood is going to list SHIB. So it's got only a limited number of cryptos today. So similar to Coinbase listing, where it becomes accessible to a wide range of investors, people thought that if SHIB is going to get listed in Robinhood, then it will again attract more early investors who will still think that they are early into SHIB, looking at the price and looking at the constant chatter, and they might be attracted to it because of the constant active marketing. So that's another reason why these rumors, this is again a rumor, it's not been confirmed by Robinhood at this point of time. So now the big question, so now that we talked about the history, about everything that you had to know about SHIB to get to this point and how SHIB got to this point. Now the biggest question that people have is, how high can it go from here? Can it reach 1 rupee or can it reach $0.01? These are the commonly asked questions. Now, a few points before we get into that question or get to answer the question. Nobody can predict the peak of a project. Nobody can predict the prices to say that this is what is going to happen. And everybody who's predicting the prices is only giving their best expectations. It is a wish list or a wishful thinking. But there are a lot of experts who call themselves experts and say that I'm definitely not an expert. I'm always learning on a daily basis. But there are a lot of crypto experts who say this crypto will definitely do a 10x in 2 years. This crypto will definitely not go beyond 2-3 times. And everything that they've said, every crypto expert have been wrong at some point of time. There are cryptos which they said that never do 2-3 times have gone up to do 10-20 times. Cryptos that they've said that it's definitely 100% going to go 10 times has stayed below 2-3 times for 2 or 3 years. That's the volatility of crypto. So that's something that we always need to remember. Nobody can be 100% sure about what could happen. But you can see the total supply, available supply, top holders. You can actually go to Etherscan and do a complete analysis of the Shiba Inu token in Etherscan. And if we take this analysis and if we just apply a bit of detailing around it, so the total SHIB supply is about 1 quadrillion, like we always said, and 410 trillion tokens were burned, and you can clearly see it in Etherscan as well. So the 589 trillion tokens are available supply that are remaining. 40 trillion of that, you could probably see that they are in different addresses which are not actually black holes, but you can call them as a burned address. So you can argue that about 549 trillion is available, but because it's not clearly in a black hole, we'll consider 589 as the remaining supply that is currently available. Now the current price is $0.00006, right? So about 4 decimal points. Now the fully liquidated market capital using this available supply and using the current price is about $37 billion. Obviously this fluctuates on a daily basis. SHIB is currently ranked 10th in the global market capital of all cryptos. So if you look at the number 1, 2 and 3 cryptos, Bitcoin has about $1.1 trillion, Ethereum has about $500 billion, and BNB has about $88 billion. So if SHIB reaches BNB, the third position, it could do 2.5 times or nearly 3 times the current price point. So $0.0001. So if SHIB reaches Ethereum's level number 2, it could then become 14 times the current price. If SHIB reaches the market capital of Bitcoin, for example, if it becomes like $1.1 trillion in terms of market capital without reducing the supply, it will still reach only $0.0019, which is around, let's say, $0.002. So for SHIB to reach $0.01 without reducing the market, the supply at this point of time, if it reaches $0.01, we are talking about a market capital of nearly $6 trillion, which is 3 times, or which is almost twice the total market capital of all the cryptos combined today. So all of the cryptos combined today is like around less than $3 trillion. So it's double, almost more than double the market capital of every other crypto combined today in the world. And this is a fully liquidated market capital that we're talking about. Now, is this possible? It's definitely not wild, because when we spoke about Bitcoin last year in September 2020, the entire market capital of all the cryptos combined in the world was only $410 billion. And Bitcoin's market capital at that point of time was $198 billion. Today, Bitcoin has nearly $1.1 trillion. So Bitcoin by itself has increased 5 times in terms of the total market capital. But the overall total market capital at that point was $410 billion. So Bitcoin is now almost 2.5 times the total market capital of all the cryptos combined. So if Bitcoin can actually become 2.5 times, SHIB can definitely also become 2 times the total market capital of all the cryptos combined. But anything is possible. Statistically, realistically, this is still possible. But it's a bit far-fetched at this point of time. What would need to happen is probably that there needs to be a burning mechanism for SHIB ecosystem. Currently, there's no active burning mechanism. So there's no constant burning that happens. And then SHIB will start to reduce over a point of time, and this could make this a little bit more plausible or possible. So even if 50% of the SHIB is burned, like half of the supply, let's say it's burned, right? So whatever is remaining, so out of the 500 trillion, if another 250 trillion SHIB is burned, it would still mean that there is a market capital of $3 trillion, which means that SHIB is equal to the entire market capital as on today. So this is kind of hard to imagine, because there'll always be global challenges. There'll always be new investors who will at some point of time start to think about what's the next SHIB. Like people are talking about SHIB is the next Doge coin today. So similarly, people will be thinking the next generation of investors in another 2 years time or 1 year time, for example, people will be thinking, what is the next SHIB? Why am I talking about next Doge coin? SHIB has already beaten Doge coin, let's say, and I will be talking about what could I invest now, which is going to be the next SHIB, for example, because at some point of time, people are going to think that I'm not early in SHIB, I'm a bit late to enter SHIB. When that mindset happens, it will start to slow down new investment into SHIB. That's a possibility definitely to be considered. Now, a few warnings before we close down this topic. So people who are especially trading in India. So I've always warned that be very careful about the prices when you're trading with Indian exchanges, and especially when a new crypto is being launched. So but that's also true when the volatility of a crypto is going bonkers, like crypto was SHIB was doing for the last few days in October, for example. So on October 27th, in fact, I tweeted around that point of time, exactly around 11 p.m. UK time, about 3:30 a.m. IST. So, but in 10 minutes, the candle was so huge that it was almost double the price of what it was showing in the other exchanges. And within 10 minutes, it had fallen down drastically to the half the amount. So if somebody had invested out of greed, if they were seeing that it was up 150% and they invested like 10,000 rupees, again, you would have lost like 50% of it immediately within a few minutes. Within about 10 minutes, you would have lost like 50% of the money. In fact, at that point of time, I also tweeted a screenshot of Binance and other global exchanges versus what you can buy in Wazirex. And you could see that the candle and the chart was completely different to all the other global exchanges. And this is the danger of buying into FOMO, or fear of missing out, where you're just seeing that there is an incredible rise and just click on buying immediately without looking at chart or without comparing it to the other global exchanges. This is why in episode 15 I said, trade with USDT as your pair. Don't trade with INR because you can't compare it easily with the other exchanges. Also compare your prices in your Indian exchanges with global exchanges like Binance, Crypto.com, Bitrue. Even if you're happy to trade in Indian exchange, that is fine, but compare your prices. Do not make a hasty decision of just clicking a buy button. Always use limit orders, like I've explained in episode 15. The importance of using limit orders is that you don't end up making an irrational decision. So I'm doing this warning because when I was tweeting it at that point of time, there were already a lot of people who were actually executing buy orders. I could see the buy orders going through. People are buying at those double the prices, and all of those people who had bought it at that point of time are now looking at a 50% loss. So eventually it could recover, the SHIB could reach that point of time, but it was unnecessary to buy at that point of time. Okay, so how do you realize profits? And this is something that two basic concepts that we've kept talking again and again. People still don't follow this to the T, I would say. So we need to be patient, or what we call as hodl or hold on to dear life. So the Doge coin was a perfect example, where if you had waited 3 months, it went from nearly about 9 lakh or $9,000 to about $90,000. It was a huge jump in those 3 months from Feb 2021 to May 2021. So you need to be patient, and you need to wait, and you need to hodl, which is called as hold on for dear life. But also on the contrary, you also need to realize profits as much as you could, and unrealized type of profits are useless. Now these are contradicting theories, right? So but people don't do either of these, and they end up making a loss. So you can check episode 19, episode 15, where we've dedicated entire episodes to talk about how you can realize profits and also how you can hold for long term. But the key is that you keep a small portion. Always keep a small portion where you are continuously realizing profits when it's going up 2 times, 3 times. And what it does is it gives you liquidity that you can decide to actually keep the liquidity, or if there is a downtrend, you can buy these dips. So what I have done personally with my SHIB, right? So I've nearly done about 40% of my SHIB. I've taken it out as profits during this October increase, and I'm going to hold the rest of the SHIB. I'm going to hodl it. But whatever I had taken out, it gave me the opportunity the liquidity to buy other projects when it was having a dip, and also to buy into SHIB again when it was dropping on many days that it had gone up and it had dropped, and I was able to buy back many of the a part of the portfolio that I had sold. Like today, 31st of October, like yesterday, 31st of October, for example, I was able to buy back on the drops because I had the liquidity by selling it at an earlier point, which was high in time. So it's not necessary that it's always going to have a fall, but it gives you the opportunity, and also helps you invest in something else if you have that liquidity. And diversification is also very important. Now, what's the next SHIB? So SHIB wanted to be the next DOGE, and the extraordinary sequence of events, it has already done it. It briefly flipped Dogecoin in terms of the market capital. It was number 9 at one point of time. So it's no longer a joke. It's no longer a meme coin. It's a store of value, whatever people might say it. And a lot of people, almost 1 million people or more, actually own SHIB today. So it's just on the Decentralized Exchange, on the unique ERC20, you can see that 1 million people own it today. And it's here to stay. Like Dogecoin, it's going to be here for some point of time. It could reduce in time or go up in time, but it's a project that's going to stay. So it's hard to say if another project can do exactly what SHIB did. The phenomenal sequence of events may or may not happen for another project. So, but it is always a tricky thing that you can invest your profits into early projects, or projects that are doing or aiming to be the next SHIB or the next DOGE at an early stage. And you can do this by tracking, like there are thousands of these projects or aspirants that are trying to do this. You can track liquidity on blockchain, you can track security assessments, roadmap, you can track the number of holders, social media following. So there are a lot of parameters that you need to check. So what I'm going to be doing is, so like in April 2021, I mentioned about SHIB, AKITA, ELON, Kishu, when nobody had been talking about it. So I'm going to mention a few projects that I am following or I am doing an early investment into. And again, this is not a brand endorsement. This is not a paid campaigning. Everything is a personal investment that I'm sharing here, as always. So most of the investments, if you've been following me carefully, you will realize that most of my investments have been quite good. I've done decently well, I would say. And a lot of cryptos I've done over 10 times in the last few months. But couple of my investments that I had mentioned in Twitter and in my previous videos, Vex, which is Wall Finance, and Copycat, have not done so well. In fact, Vex has lost about 90% of the value. So people had invested, let's say 1,000 rupees, you now be sitting at about 10 rupees, for example. So it had lost a lot of 100 rupees, for example. It had lost a lot of its value. I explained why, and I will also post another video explaining how the Vex merging could change the landscape. But again, just an example to say that it's not necessary that somebody will get it right all the time. So obviously, please do your own research. Just because I'm saying it, don't buy it. So these are some of the cryptos that I have bought into, which I think has got some potential, like how I saw SHIB, AKITA, or ELON, or those kind of coins during April 2021. So ERC20 in the Ethereum blockchain, you can buy Saitama. Saitama is a token that you can buy on Uniswap. I think it's also on Gate.io. You can buy a couple of BABYDOGE cryptos, which is YOOSHI, on PancakeSwap, or you can buy BABYDOGE. BABYDOGE, I think I forgot to mention it in my Tamil video, even though I had it on the screen. Again, these are the websites where you can go and do your own research. You can go and read about them. In the Polygon network, generally the Polygon network is not great at launching these kind of new coins. There's been a lot of pump and dump schemes, and it's very, very hard to differentiate a good coin from a pump and dump coin. So POLYDOGE is one of the projects I'm recently starting to follow because of QuickSwap allowing a farming opportunity in it, and I'm buying it in QuickSwap, and I'm also farming for POLYDOGE in the liquidity mining. So I've invested a very small amount of funds. Compared to the investments that I make, I always invest a very small amount of funds in these kind of cryptos. Obviously, the return of investment is significantly higher. But please read about them, follow them on Twitter, and you decide for yourself. But I've listed the links, and you can go to the link and you can find the contract address on the link as well. Again, finally, none of this is an endorsement of the meme coins. I still invest 90% of my money into real projects with real use case and having an intrinsic value, something, a real problem that the coin is trying to solve, like Link, Injective, Zap, GRT, SKL, and so on. and some of the major projects, exchange projects like CRO, BTR, WRX, Polygon. But I would like to see those projects succeed, but I cannot deny the fact that these meme coins, SHIB, AKITA, ELON, have had a significant rise and helped me take a lot of money out and reinvest it into the dips of some of my famous projects. So I will definitely not be happy with my profits if I was just having my own profit and I did not share it with people who've been following me. And that's the only reason I have shared these projects in the past, which I've been very clear about. So obviously, there will always be a crypto crash at some point of time, which is either manipulated by the market manipulators, or there'll be a real world event that will cause a butterfly effect. So SHIB could also crash hard with all the other cryptos. So absolutely, make sure that you take profits out if you are sitting on profits. Make sure that you're investing and diversifying your crypto portfolio so that you're not putting all your funds into one crypto or all your eggs in one basket. So put safety before profits, which I keep saying, and don't invest essential funds into crypto. So hope this video has been useful and everything that you wanted to know about SHIB. Until next time, thank you, bye.